right here, the next strongest, and I see Mr. Tree is here, but one of the best canopy coverages we have is in residential homes. Residential homes where we originally cut down all the trees, the farmers did, we built on it, and then we all planted trees, and now we have a tremendous canopy in the older parts of our town. And that's because you can replant trees. And golf courses, at Beacon Hall, they cut down 480 trees, but they put back down 450 trees as well. As part of an urban forest strategy in Vancouver, golf courses are their partner, and they plant trees there for the benefit of the canopy of the town. So really, this 10 trees I can't support, and I don't think that's a surprise here at this table. It's a punitive action based on protecting trees, but you're just attacking stewards of our environment needlessly and for no reason at all, as Councillor Perry said. This does nothing to protect trees. It does nothing to enhance our canopy. We should be planting trees, using public transit, and walking if we really are concerned about our atmosphere. And that's how we can create a better environment for ourselves.
I have Mayor Daw, then Councillor Kim for the first time, and then back to Councillor Marcus for the second.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I hope that Councillor Perry continues to come with quotes from Groucho Marx. It's been said, I've said it here before, we're solving a problem that simply does not exist. There has been much weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth, and nothing, absolutely nothing has happened. I do not support the alternative. I haven't supported this whole issue since it came up. If you talk with Mr. Buchanan, who is the chief forester at the region and a resident of Aurora, he will tell you there is no issue with the tree canopy in Aurora. There is no problem with the tree canopy. Councillor Abel referred to two tree removal, tree destruction areas, one's at St. John's and Leslie. Not one phone call, not one email. Around Town Hall, not one phone call, one email, and that was from a councillor who wanted to know what was going on. And that was a plan that was approved. A vegetation plan, because it was looking kind of scruffy around Town Hall. We're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. Let's move on and try and solve problems that do exist.
Thank you, Mayor Daw. Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Chair. I can't support alternative one as well for the same reasons as the chair. I think 10 trees is insufficient. I do believe that the golf courses, they have been good stewards in the past, and I believe that it's in their best interest to manage their land properly and be good stewards. There are cases where, I thought that there might be, hybrid grass where they can grow properly in the shade or in excess of sun, but, from a couple of reasonable experts that I've spoken to, they said, those seeds, they do kind of promote that, but you still need adequate sunlight, and if there's a lot of shading, you got to cut those trees down, and so I do understand the golf property owners' desire to be able to manicure, the freedom to manicure their land to ensure that they do run a good, profitable business. But at the same time, I do believe that they know that it's in their best interest to take care of the land as well. And but I do believe that there has to be some kind of regulation. As Alan Greenspan, I'm just thinking of him right now. In 2007, 2008, he thought that self-regulation would guide the principles of mortgage lending and so forth, and we know how that happened. So I do believe that there does need to be a certain amount of regulation, and I think I do believe in the permit process, but I don't think 10 trees would be sufficient for this, and even hiring an arborist to work with town staff to manage the property. That'd be great as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. Councillor Perry, you've started a quoting war, I think.
I didn't hear your quote.
Oh, okay. Councillor Marcus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe I'm reading this wrong. I don't think I am. Through you to Mr. Tree, are we restricting them to just 10 trees, or am I reading it correctly where they can apply for a permit beyond the 10 trees?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. They can apply for an additional permit beyond 10 trees.
So in essence, we're not restricting them to 10 trees only. We're just asking them, if you're going to do more than 10 trees, come let us know. Let us know what you're doing. We'll help, we'll take a look, make sure everything is good, and we'll issue the permit and go ahead. Cut them down if it works and it falls within our guidelines. So we're not restricting anyone to 10 trees per 1 year. So, you know, if that's the concern of some of the members here at the table, it shouldn't be, because that's not what is in front of us. So I don't see what the issue is. And speaking to St. John's and the trees that were removed in there, through you, Mr. Chair, to, I guess, Mr. Ramuno might be able best suited to answer this. Is there not a permit process when it comes to removal of trees or tree management in subdivision agreements?
Mr. Romano?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, that's through our subdivision agreement process.
So essentially, when the subdivision, they go and they took down all those trees, they applied for the proper permits within those agreements, and they did their due diligence and brought it back to the town and let us know what they're going to do with the removal of the trees. In essence, that's what we're asking for here, is we're saying, hey, before you remove more than 10 trees in 1 year, come let us know, let us take a look at it, we'll issue you the permit if we agree with it. That's all. I don't see what the problem is. I don't think we're not restricting anyone, so.
Councillor Humphreys?
Thank you. And without being repetitive, just a question. That initial golf course that's not under the municipality's jurisdiction, why isn't it? Sorry, just want to know why that one's with the region and why we can, you know, just curious, it's in our town.
Mr. Downey, would you like to provide? Oh, or Jim?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the golf course that, excuse me, that we're talking about is Beacon Hall. They have two classifications on their property. One is a woodland, which is governed by the region's bylaw. There's also wood lot on the property, which is governed by our bylaw. So it's a little bit confusing that there's two bylaws that apply to that property, or could apply to that, apply to the property if they were included in our bylaw.
So through you, Mr. Chair, does that mean we could possibly have jurisdiction in that area if there's a mass tree cutting?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, and anything that is 1 hectare or less would come in under our bylaw. Anything that exceeds over the hectare in size, that applies to the regional bylaw. So there's both classifications on the property, if it is considered a regional woodland. So there's always this consultation back and forth between the region and ourselves as to whether the region's bylaw would apply to that piece of the property or would it be our bylaw.
Okay, thank you. That helps. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That helps, because it doesn't mean we have absolutely no jurisdiction. We do. And in that case, it was a larger cutting than was within our range, I guess, or because it was in a woodlot and however the categories are. And just curious, did they abide to the regions at that time? I don't want to hash up all old things, but just wondering if they abided by the region's bylaw, and there's really none of our business.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, they applied for a regional permit and obtained the permit, and it was regional woodland that they were working in.
I have Councillor Tom next, and then, thank you.
Fabulous. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to comment quickly on something that Councillor Marax mentioned. I think, and it wasn't clear, I guess it was alluded to by, I think, Councillor Abel and maybe Mayor Daw as well, about St. John's and Leslie, that area. That was, the area they were talking about in terms of the removal of trees was for the road that was expanded, and it wasn't for a subdivision. And I believe, with respect to that, there was no replanting or anything like that. So that was the example of that was used, and not the subdivision agreement, which is, I'm not just a point of clarification, I suppose, for the people out there. Second thing is, you know, we've just heard that the regional bylaw applies to Beacon Hall. We have, other than Beacon Hall, 3 operating golf courses other than Beacon Hall. One of them is half of it is in Newmarket, I think. So not sure how that business is going to operate with that. Secondly, we saw a photograph of Westview Golf Club. Councilor Abel brought it in from the 60s when that was a farmer's field. The first hole, you could see the whole course. There was no trees. They've planted every single tree on that course, and they've managed them over the 50, 60 years that they've been running the place. I mean, this is the reality. Golf courses, you need trees to be economically viable. They're not going to cull the trees on their course. The only instance that that will happen is if it is sold to a developer and developed, clear cut, and houses are put on it. Trees are not going to be removed en masse in golf courses. It just goes against their business model. There's no need for this regulation. So again, I won't support it.
Councillor Abel for the second time.
No, Mr. Chair, it was Councillor Tom covered it very well. The question was not about the secondary development. That's very clear. In the Planning Act and legislation, developers allowed to clear cut unless they're features and forest, and they replant. And then after 30, 40 years, you've got a canopy. It's been going on for hundreds of years. What was done was a road allowance and a widening of the road at the intersection, and it didn't require a permit under our municipality. They just clear cut it and took it all down. And they would not only did they clear cut a forest, they were going to put down pavement. So there's a huge impact on that, and that is a concern and should be a concern, not what goes on in a beautiful golf course with wildlife sanctuaries and all the other things that are associated with it. The bylaw is a punitive, this proposal of 10 trees is just to create hardship on good stewards and good for our environment. There's just no question about it.
Further discussion, Councillor Gardner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be pulling this next week at council and asking for a recorded vote. I think mentioning the words punitive and hardship, when all we're trying to do is protect some trees. And at one point, we had a lot of residents in this chamber, but they just got tired of coming. Tonight, we only had 2. So, I don't know. And I'll say this again next week as well. I don't know whether it's true that there is a conflict of interest on the part of Councillor Abel, whether it's actual.
Councillor Gardner, please contain your comments to the motion in front of you, please.
The gentleman works for a golf
Councillor
course
Gardner?
and should not be.
Councillor Kim?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mr. Downey or Mr. Tree, do we know approximately every year how many trees need to be cut down by golf courses, or conversely they plant in a net figure?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, we don't.
You know, just to respond to Councillor Marakis, he's absolutely correct. For me, on alternative recommendation 1, it's just, I think the threshold is just too small. You know, if it was 40, 50, I mean, if I knew that if golf courses cut down 20 trees a year to, you know, to maintain their course, and then they probably plant 5 or 10 or whatever, then I just don't want them to have to come in every year to put in a permit application. So I just would rather have a higher threshold if there was an opportunity, so that their normal operations isn't, you know, it's not too onerous for them to have to come in every year.
Thank you, Councillor Kim. And perhaps, Mr. Tree, if we can get some clarification, Councillor Marcus does raise a good point that if a golf course did come to the town and wanted to, over the course of 18 holes, take down 25 trees, they could if they got a permit. What would be the process? Is the director solely responsible to issue that permit, or is it appealable to council? You know, would that come to council for decision? How do you see that process unfolding? Or perhaps Mr. Downey's a better one to answer, I'm not sure.
To you, Mr. Chair, the bylaw, the way we proposed it, is that the director would be able to issue permits or deny permits. If the permit's denied, then there's an appeal to council. The idea of the director being able to manage this and administrate this is to expedite it quickly, so there would be minimal time in the golf course would be able to make their case, and we may require an arborist report or some backup information, maybe not. But it would be expedited efficiently and quickly. So that was the rationale as to the committee bringing that forward for all permits to be administrated by the director.
Thank you. And through you to Mr. Downey. Mr. Downey, I know it's hard to be in a hypothetical situation. Do you think there's a threshold for yourself where you would not feel comfortable issuing a permit without council approval based on the number of trees being proposed?
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is somewhat hypothetical, but if I felt that there was going to be certainly some public concern with regards to that, perhaps it's in a very public area, or it's in close proximity to perhaps some concern, I may very well bring that forward to council for some consideration. There's still a notification period, so if someone wishes to do some cutting, there is a notification requirement, and so any person who does have a concern still has that opportunity. It's to make any comment to me or to any member of council with regards to any concerns they may have.
Thank you. Further comments? Councillor Abel, this will be your third time or second?
I just wanted to ask how much a permit was, Mr. Chair.
Through you to Mr. Downey, just for clarification, how much would the permit be?
Per tree?
They're not set in the bylaw? I'm sorry, they're not set in the bylaw at this point. So if this bylaw is passed, we will then be coming forward with a fee schedule.
Is there a thought process around what it would be?
Presently, it's $70.
It depends on the number of trees. Through you,
Microphone.
Mr. Chair. More than, I believe it's more than 4 trees, it's more than $400, and it escalates based on the number. But with the changes in the bylaw, we will have to rejig the figures and the fees.
Thank you very much. Perhaps that could be circulated for council's review. Any further discussion on the alternative before us? Councillor Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So right now we're voting to include alternative 1 into this. Thank you.
I'm just going to refer to the clerk for a second. Would it be best to us to vote as a whole or just to vote on the particular alternative first?
Thank you. Through Mr. Chair, I actually believe it would probably be best to vote on the alternative because it's independent of the other two things. If you vote on all of them together, some people might like one part of the motion and other parts not. It seems the debate is around the alternate.
So in other words, split it.
Yes.
We'll split it. We will go forward with the alternative 1 first. All those in favor of alternative 1, raise your hands. Opposed? Alternative 1 fails. As for the second part, all those in favor? The rest of the motion in front of us. Be received.
May I?
I'll refer to the clerk.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, and I'll just confirm with Mr. Tree, if you vote for the motion as is, now that the alternative 1 has been defeated, the bylaw that would be put forward would not include any provisions related to golf courses.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, as it is now, golf courses would be excluded from the new bylaw.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, so option 3 is what you're saying is on the floor now.
Which is the previous bylaw.
Thank you. So do we need a mover and a seconder for that? No?
All those in favor? Opposed? That fails too. Mayor Dahl?
Motion to receive.
I'm sure we'll be doing this all next week, but an hour later, we have a motion to receive. All those in favor of receiving?
We need a seconder.
Sorry, do we have a seconder for Mayor Dawes' motion to receive? Councillor Perry. All those in favor? We're back to square one. Thank you. Opposed, sorry. By the way, I heard a rumor that the paper will not report on trees anymore. They've already said everything there is to say. Item number 12, it was pulled by Councillor Gartner. This item is to be received for information. Councillor Gartner, can you move the staff recommendation?
I can move this receipt for information.
Do I have a seconder to receive for information? Councillor Tom. Councillor Gardner, go ahead.
Thank you. My concern with this is under the comments section, it's page 1, second paragraph. And I think at some point we put a policy in place that allowed this. But my feeling is that if we get any money for advertising, it shouldn't go into the recreation sponsorships reserved for youth programming. We've still got a pretty big debt on this building. I think it should go towards the debt. So I'm not exactly sure how it ended up going into youth programming, although I do think it was approved by council. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Downey, perhaps you, if...
Mr. Downey, would you like to comment on that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Councillor Gardner is correct. This was approved by council and the funding source was approved by council.
Would you remember, could you have any idea when?
Mr. Downey?
Was it in this?
Well, it was a 2015 report, so I'm sorry I can't tell you exactly, but it had to be
This term of
fairly early in the
council.
year because it's 15006. So I suggest it was probably in January of last year.
Thank
Since
you.
we're
So-
already in report number 8 for this year.
Thank you. So it was at the beginning of this term of council. I would just like to say that perhaps something that is more appropriate, if council wants to look at it, is that any money that we raise from advertising, and we could raise a lot of money, I know we want to raise a lot of money, that either it goes into a separate fund and we decide what to do with it later, or it go back into our reserve account, which I think is in a negative balance at the moment in facilities. Perhaps through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Elliott?
Mr. Elliott, are you able
Are
to
we in a reserve
answer that at this
balance,
point?
in a negative balance?
Off the top of my head, the DC reserves certainly are with respect to facilities. However, one of your comments earlier was that this should be paid towards the debt on the facility. That debt is being funded by development charges as we collect them.
Full debt.
Entirely. So there's no tax funding paying that debt.
Thank you.
If I
I'm not
may
sure
add-
if that helps answer all the
If I may,
questions.
the CAO would like to add a comment
Thank
as
you.
well, if possible.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I also suggest there might be some caution in messing around with at this stage, because lots of times organizations that contribute do so on the basis of where the funds are going. And so if you make some change, it may be less attractive for them if the money went to a different type of programming that perhaps they weren't in support of. So that would have to be another consideration. I don't think you could, in good conscience, just redirect it at this stage if they believe that it's going into youth programming. So I just offer that for consideration.
Thank you.
That's a good point. Then I would like to see what parameters are in place around the recreation sponsorship reserve. I'd like to know where that money is going and what are our rules for spending it. Perhaps Mr. Downey could provide that to council for next week.
Mr. Downey, can you provide some more information?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just having a conversation with the treasurer. That reserve has been presented to council, and the terms and conditions with regards to withdrawals from that reserve have been identified within that. So the treasurer has indicated to me be happy to send that to members of council for their information, if you so wish.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't remember. Thank you.
Any further comments on this item? Councillor Perry, then Councillor Tom.
Just to be brief, I wanted to point out that in response to Councillor Gartner's first question, under previous reports, page 2, there are a list of some previous reports that we've had on the matter found within the report.
Thank you. If I may respond.
Actually, if
No,
you
I may
don't-
not respond. Okay, thank you.
I have Councillor Tom first. You're welcome to respond after that. Councillor Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to be extremely brief as well, because we did pass a motion at last council that I brought forward, which was to review all of this, facility and advertising sponsorship, and I'm sure that the sources for which the funds go, I would imagine, would be included in such a report. It was the scope was quite large. So perhaps we can wait till that report comes back, and then you can decide if where the funds should go is appropriate or not. I don't know. Just a thought.
Councillor Gartner for the second time.
That's a good idea. Through you, Mr. Chair, to whoever, when is that report coming back?
Mr. Downey, do you have a sense of when you're going to be able to put that report together?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I haven't. I certainly have spoken to staff, and they are working on it. However, they haven't given me an indication when I would be able to receive their interim report. I haven't seen it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I can certainly look up this report on my own. I don't need you to do anything further, Mr. Downey. And I wonder if anybody at the table remembers the parameters for spending that money.
Are there any further comments with regards to this report? Seeing none, all those in favor of receiving for information? So moved. Moving on to our last item this evening, item 13. Again, that was pulled by Councillor Gartner. Councillor Gartner, are you able to move the staff recommendation?
Yes, thank you. Move as is.
Seconded. Mayor Dahl, sorry.
I just wanted to underline the approval of what was in the report, that with respect to alcohol, that sponsorships should be looked for, because I'm not sure that it would be appropriate for us to spend the taxpayers' money on alcohol for any award ceremony. I don't think it's been done in the past, but I don't really know. But I just wanted to congratulate them on continuing to look for sponsors to sponsor any alcohol that's spent.
Perhaps we can ask the chair of that committee to comment. Councillor Marcus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, definitely, Councillor Gardner, we aren't looking to spend any taxpayers' money for any alcohol. It would definitely, we've talked about it as a committee, if we cannot get a in-kind or sponsorship for alcohol, then we will not be having any alcohol at the event. So, yeah, definitely will not be spending taxpayers' money for alcohol.
If there's no further comments, all those in favor of receiving? So moved. That closes the items for consideration, and on to new business. I'm going to start on my left this evening. Councillor Perry, do you have any items for new business?
Nothing at the moment.
Thank you. Councillor Kim? Councillor Tom? I will come back to you, Councillor Perry. Councillor Humphreys? I will come back to you. Councillor Abel? Mayor Dahl? Councillor Gardner?
Thank you. There was a situation that happened at the Aurora Family Leisure Complex on Saturday that had to do with buses being parked in spots that would be where the users would park. And I was in Thornhill Saturday morning, and a resident actually came up to where I was working and was very upset. So I went to check it out and spoke with staff. It was a very difficult situation, not only for the users, but for the reception staff. Well, I don't know how many complaints they had, but they had a lot. And so I would just like to know how this happened on a Saturday morning, which is really quite busy at the Aurora Family Leisure Complex. Mr. Downey, Mr. Simonovskis?
Mr. Downey, are you aware, and can you provide some feedback or comment?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we are in communications with the Legion. It's our understanding that the Legion indicated that they were having an event at their establishment, and they didn't have enough parking with the buses, which they have an agreement with as far as parking buses on their property. So they had recommended they park them on the town parking lot. That's not acceptable. We aren't very happy about this. We are contacting the Legion. There is a use agreement in place from 2000, I believe, if not, actually 1998, I apologize. So we have been in contact with them this afternoon. We will be following up with them and asking that this not be a reoccurrence.
Very, very glad to hear that because, well, it was just very inappropriate. It caused a lot of trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Marcus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one quick question through you to Ms. Van Leeuwen. I'm just wondering when we will be seeing the potential for the door-to-door bylaw.
Ms. Van Leeuwen, you finally get a chance to participate this evening.
Well, I had to throw something.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the report is being drafted at this time and should be here not this next cycle, but the following cycle, which I believe is the first cycle in March.
Thank you, and I just want to make a comment. I don't know if everyone's aware lately there's been a lot of false people showing up to people's doors pretending they're from Canada Revenue Agency. Some have even been impersonating police officers coming to the door. So, you know, I think this is something we kind of need to get on top of. So I'm looking forward to that report. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Councillor Perry.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I have noticed that there are some town holiday decorations still up. Any idea when those are going to be taken down? That's my question. If there's any staff members who could...
Councillor Perry, can you provide a little bit of direction in terms of where you've seen them?
If memory serves, and I haven't been downtown in a little bit, there are lightings on lampposts. I want to say that there might still be some lights in our tree here at Town Hall. At what point is that getting taken down?
Perhaps staff can just follow up and make sure that the decorations are either removed or put away. Thank you. Councillor Humphreys? Councillor Humphreys?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a reminder, on this Thursday at Aw Shucks, this Thursday, February 4th at 7 p.m. There's a fundraiser going on. It's a Mardi Gras fundraiser for Welcome Table to fundraise in support of our Welcome Table in town. There's no cover charge. There's live music starting at 7:30, and our good friend Mary Dodropoulos, who used to own Jonathan's, is a member on the board for the Welcome Table. So she's asked council if they would like to join. And of course, residents, staff, everyone. Thanks.
I see we're going to run again. Mayor Daw had a quick one, then Councillor Abel.
Just to Councillor Perry's point, I believe it's un-Canadian to either put up or take down your Christmas decorations unless there's a blizzard. So they have to wait for the blizzard to do that.
Thank you for that important announcement. Councillor Abel.
I think, Councillor Humphreys, this Thursday at All Shucks is another event. It is the Glen Mereway Stop Bullying. Glen Maris, yes. Yeah, but it's not the welcoming table. It's for Stop Bullying and let's do 1 million kindness acts of kindness.
Okay, well, maybe there's two going on at the same time because Glen Maris is one of the entertainers, and it does say it's a fundraiser for Welcome Table as well, so maybe they're splitting the proceeds.
Okay.
That's from Mary, so I think they're because I did see Glen Maris coming as well.
Thank you very much, councillors. Seeing
And
no
another
further
thing.
new business, and we have no closed session this evening, can I have a motion to adjourn? Councillor Maracus is leaping out of his chair. Councillor Tom agrees. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you very much.